Давай я тогда начну. Барни, вопрос, почему вы решили проехаться по глубинкам России? То есть не по крупным городам, а вот таким, как Киров, допустим.
So Barney, you performed a lot in relatively small towns in Russia, like Tольятти, Petrozavodsk, Irkutsk, and now today it's Kirov. And not many foreign bands play these cities. So why you are here today?
Because I think not only in Russia but across the world, Napalm Death always had a policy, kind of unspoken policy, to play outside of the big cities, because obviously there's people in any country in the smaller towns also deserve to see music, you know. So if there's a possibility to do it, then why not, you know? It kind of made sense to do it, you know. So that's why, you know. And luckily there was always interest in Napalm Death coming to those towns, so that's what we do, you know. It's too obvious to just do Moscow, St. Petersburg. Everybody does that, you know.
Может, перейдешь?
Типа ездят по небольшим городам специально, чтобы был какой-то особый опыт для людей, и для них тоже интереснее. Я потом тебе могу перевести весь текст. Давай, может, что-нибудь поскорее вопросы есть какие-нибудь? Давай я тогда.
Давай, задавай.
Okay, so it's been 4 years since your last album. It's the longest break in albums for Napalm Death.
Yeah.
So why it's so long, and are you working on something new?
Well, there's a number of reasons. Some just purely that the band was playing a lot of gigs, a lot of tours, so obviously that takes time away from making an album, you know. Secondly, some other things happened that, I mean, some personal stuff, you know, with one or two of the band members. You know, life sometimes gets in the way of things, you know, and just, yeah, I mean, the time just seems to have gone. So it is a long time, but the new album is almost finished. Next year, it will be early next year will be coming. You know.
Is Mitch Harris still in the band?
Mitch Harris plays on the album. He plays on that new album, but he doesn't tour with the band at the moment. So
is there a possibility he'll return to
there's always a possibility, but in reality, his life now, he moved back to Las Vegas, so he lives in Las Vegas again, and his mum and dad died very close together a couple of years ago, so it changed his whole kind of life. He has a big family as well, Mitch does, so I don't know whether practically it's going to work for him to play with the band again. So possibly, but also not possibly. Could be either, you know.
Okay, it's good to publish these details, because I've never read in any interviews about his family.
Yeah, well, yeah, maybe don't say about the family, just say personal, you know, life has changed and personal. Yeah, that's a good point. Thank you for mentioning that. Yeah.
So on a new album, on most of your albums, you have sometimes some slow industrial songs, maybe like Godflesh or Swans, something on a new album.
Yeah, a lot. Yeah, but see, here's the thing. Napalm has always had that style. If you go back to before the first two albums, there was always that style. So we're just developing it. So we have stuff on the new album which is more, you could say, like noise rock kind of thing. Not even really not even really metal or punk in the traditional sense, you know, different. And like 15 albums in, you have to do something different.
Yeah.
Why do the same thing over and over again? But yes, of course, the first things that people think of with Napalm Death, fast, chaotic, it's all still there, you know. It's all that stuff is still there. So.
There is lots of things in politics happened since 2015,
Yeah.
most notably Trump and Brexit. Does it appear in songs on new album with themes?
No, actually, not specifically those things. Yes, they are a consideration, but there's not specific songs about that. I mean, the thing about Trump is just one element of a world that's not particularly fantastic right now, you know. But then the world has never been great. You know, if me and you were sitting here in 1914, you know, like however many million people were about to die in a stupid war, you know, that should never have happened. So you can take any period of history, always big problems, you know. So now is just another set of problems, you know. It's no different really, you know. So yeah, Trump is just one element, you know. I mean, the Brexit thing is just it's so stupid, you know. It doesn't even, almost you don't even want to mention it because it's so stupid, you know. The whole emphasis, the whole basis for it is just like stupid, you know. I personally think, you know.
And what do you think about Russian politics? I mean, we know everybody can tell you lots of stories you probably don't want to hear, but how it looks from outside.
Well, I don't think that this goes for any nation in the world. You know, I don't think that it's good that a government or a leader should be in power for this amount of time. There's no chance to see different options. You know what I mean? That's not good. You know, for somebody to be in power this amount of time. I mean, for me personally, this whole idea of strong person, it's bullshit. It's meaningless. You know, it doesn't mean anything. What does it mean? Somebody tell me what that actually means. It doesn't mean anything, you know. What it does, it perpetuates this thing in the world. Strength means fight against other. What's the point, you know? Like, human beings have been fighting for too long now. They need to learn about the other way forward, which is peace and talking to people and understanding other people, you know. And then there's little specific things, you know, like for example the anti-gay propaganda law, which is fucking stupid, you know. It's one of the, it's inhumane, you know. It's basically it has nothing to do with what it actually says. To me, it is about persecution of people who are no threat to anybody else, you know, and that's really fucking dangerous to me, you know. So.
Еще какие-нибудь вопросы есть?
У вас есть вопросы еще?
Да, это самое. Грэндкор очень быстрая техничная музыка. Не устали ли, не сказывается ли с возрастом на игру?
Oh, sorry, actually, I just want to go back. I was just thinking of things, you know, but it's not correct to just focus on Russia, you know. Like, there are other leaders, you know, out there that are the same, you know, but just a slightly different perspective, you know what I mean? So it's not a one country problem, it's a world problem, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because the world just wants to keep fighting against each other, you know, when, again, people should fucking try to understand each other, not. Also, first thing we do, talk shit and then fight with each other. It's fucking stupid. Innocent people die. They want nothing to do with this shit, you know what I mean? And that's a problem.
Okay,
Sorry, I just
and
had to.
return to the music.
Yeah.
So grindcore is fast and sometimes technical. music.
Спортивная, скажи.
So, and you are in your 50s. Is it still easy for you to play this music?
For me. You know, this whole thing, you made a very important point. There is like a certain culture within music. When a band gets over a certain age, you know, say a band's been around 30 years, 20, 30, 40 years, and whether it's the band themselves or whether it's the people outside the band, they think, yeah, well, it's so long now, we can just take it easy and make, you know, like not so intense music. Yeah, and that's, you don't have to do that. You can be just as hard hitting, doesn't matter how old you are, you know. I mean, Napalm Death, you will hear the album that comes up, it's fucking harsh, you know, it's so you don't have to think, oh, I'm in my 50s now, I must make music that's more. No, that's it doesn't have to be that way, you know.
Ну, то есть всякие финалы, как Slayer, они не планируют в ближайшее время.
So you are not planning to retire like Slayer?
Well, I mean, every band makes its own decision. You know, Slayer have got their own reasons. But as far as Napalm Death, as long as we can make music that's hard, abrasive, critical, confrontational, that's good for us. As long as we can do gigs that are, you know, very, very, you know, in the face, you know, fine, you know, as long as we as individuals have the enthusiasm to carry on, no problem. So yeah, for now everything's okay, but you never know, you know, in 1 year's time could be over. You just don't know. That's life, you know, that's life sometimes.
Будет ли сегодня Use Sofa песня? И насколько сложно ее играть?
Да, конечно, будет.
Это смешно.
Okay, so I have a question about album's diatribes and Inside the Torn Apart. You, in that time, you've changed your sound to a more straightforward direction. So, do you think this experiment succeeded?
It wasn't. I wouldn't call it straightforward. I think that's inaccurate. You know, I think it was very experimental sounding.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah.
not straightforward in that case. You know what? Here's the thing. You know, even within the band, there was some tension, you know, around those albums. And for me personally, some of the stuff I didn't like then, I actually like now. But then some of the stuff I still think wasn't really Napalm Death, you know, or wasn't really hard enough to be Napalm Death. So that's just my opinion, you know. But I think that it was a learning step. Everything is a learning step, if you understand that, you know.
Yeah.
So to get to one place, you have to go through. Sometimes you have to go through certain steps, and arguably, if we didn't go through those steps, then we wouldn't be where we are now. So it's everything for a reason, I guess.
Главные вопросы закончились, так
У
что...
вас все, да? Барни, у меня такой вопрос. В интернете я недавно увидел видео...
Не переводи, да?
Я переведу.
Не, лучше давай с самого начала.
С самого
Пошли
начала?
мы теперь, да.
Ладно, хорошо. Группа была основана в 1981 году, и мне интересно, как изменился мир для группы за это время, и есть ли различия между повесткой того года и 2019?
So the question is, the band exists for so many years. How world view changed from the early years to 2019? Is it still the same?
When you say the world, what do you mean? Like our world or the world outside?
World outside, and
Yeah.
how you look
Yeah.
at it?
Well, I mean, we were just talking about some of that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, Napalm Death came around in the time of Margaret Thatcher, you
Yeah.
know, which was, from my perspective, it wasn't a good time, you know. It was bad, you know, unless you were rich, you know, or then was not good, you know, times. So through to, I don't know, various things, you know, various changes in world dynamic. Soviet Union disappeared during Napalm Death from then to now. So that was a huge change in the world because the Soviet influence suddenly was gone or not as powerful, you know. So yeah, I mean, as a band, we just adjusted to the circumstances, you know. Sure, you know, you could say maybe a political band in a lot of respects, but we just adjusted to the circumstances. It was never difficult for us as a band. because we always dealt with the conditions, you know, whatever it was. I mean, if there's anything specific that he wants to mention in terms of the world outside, sure, I can answer it, you know, but I can, generally the band just kind of went through the various things, you know.
Ну, как в общем и целом он ответил, если по каким-то конкретным деталям, что вообще в мире происходит, то спрашивай конкретнее.
Ладно, тогда следующий вопрос. Барни, согласен ли ты с утверждением, что один в поле – это воин? И были ли такие случаи, когда тебе казалось, что все оборачивается против вас?
One man army.
Алексей.
Was in your life the situation when you think all the world against you?
No,
No.
no,
Нет.
no.
Окей.
Because that's inaccurate, because there are many people in this world, more people than you'd understand, that want peace and like human beings to actually treat other human beings like human beings.
Yeah.
You know, just because you have a different colour skin, or just because your sexuality is different, that person the same as you, no different. We're all human beings, you know. So there are many people in the world that want this. They're sick and tired of like people fighting all the time, you know, and they just want to live, you know, without poverty, you know, without disadvantage, you know, with a health system that actually protects them as people. So there are many people that want that. So actually, only a certain percentage of the world thinks differently to what we do. You know, of course, there are people in the world that want always to fight, you know, to be strong, to fight with people. But most people, I believe, don't want that. They're sick and tired of people dying for no reason, you know. People dying for what their governments want, that has no benefit to them. You know, they're tired of it, you know. So people just want to live in peace, I think, you know.
Очень раздавать ответ, но информации нет. Потому что как бы мир разный, и людям просто зачастую друг не дорога, как говорится.
Хорошо. Да. Следующий вопрос. В 2013 году вы были в шаге от того, чтобы выступить в музее Виктории и Альберта, но было отказано по некоторым причинам. Верно ли утверждать, что вы когда-то могли записать свой Life in Pompeii?
Pink Floyd, I think is you referring to Pink Floyd. I heard the last bit, but I didn't hear the rest. I didn't understand
The question is, you try to perform at
Albert and Victoria Museum.
Oh yeah,
Victoria
yeah.
Albert Museum, so it was a try to make your own life at Pompeii.
Oh no, it was nothing to do with that. Here's the thing. Let me give you the proper story about that. Now, you know, Napalm Death is not only a musical thing.
Yeah.
What we try to do as a band, we're also into the more art side of things. So we try to do like some performance things where we had, in that particular case, we had a sculpture of a very old apartment block in Birmingham, where we're from, which was very symbolic, because everybody that was really poor used to live in this block, and the authorities always like push them to one side, which was just, it's not fair, you know, it's not good. So we made a realization of this sculpture, or rather the sculptor did, and we played music like through, and the music was into the sculpture, so the sculpture was decaying, disintegrating, you know.
Disintegrated.
Yeah, so it was a performance art thing. So originally we were meant to do it at the Victoria and Albert, but they got really scared because of the noise and the sound.
Yeah.
They had very expensive
Vibration.
expensive old antique things hanging in the ceiling. So they said no. So we went to another venue, which was on the coast in the UK, and we did the same thing.
Yeah.
So it did happen, that event, it did happen, but it was another venue in the end. So it wasn't a live, it wasn't an attempt to be live in Pompeii, it was something different, you know.
Это было нечто иное, это не была просто попытка сделать концерт в Помпеях, а это был такой некий символический акт, который был очень важен для группы, там, сегодня по разных причин, примерно так. В общем, вот так.
Тогда еще вопрос.
Для диктофона больше.
Увидел недавно лайв с Obscene Extreme Festival в 2018 году, и поведение людей, это, то есть что-то было такое, какое-то сумасшествие, то есть происходило такое слияние сцены и зрителей, и охрана просто не могла сдержать людей. Это, то есть, не типичный там стейдж-дайвинг, может, если там это какой-то театр получается. У тебя не было, Барни, мыслей как-то вот сделать подобное, но на стыке с искусством, как, допустим, с музеем?
So you played Obscene Extreme last year, and probably many times before.
Yeah, 2 or 3 or 4 times. Yeah.
And it's festival famous because of so many people go up on stage.
Yeah.
And stage diving and all this
Yeah,
crazy.
it's a great festival.
Yes, crazy costumes. So it happens natural, but did you have any plans to maybe make it in some other place as a performance for so many people to go on stage?
Because it looks like theater. It looks like theater.
Yeah, but it's not. It's spontaneous. That's the thing. Obscene Extreme is completely free festival, you know.
Yeah.
Obviously, they want people to be safe, you know, but it's spontaneous, very free festival. And the thing is that the reason this festival is so important is because it treats the people that go like people, not like, you know, a corporate festival with all this fucking bullshit, you know. It's independent. They treat the kids like with respect, you know, and they treat them, make them safe for them. So it's a combination of everything. It's like the perfect festival, really. So we don't need to try and copy that, you know. If you come to Napalm gigs around the world, Napalm Death always had that philosophy. Like we actually don't ask for barriers, you know. So we never said, oh yeah, give us a barrier. We never said that, never. But in Europe and America and many places around the world, sometimes the safety laws in the clubs say, oh, you must have a barrier and you must have this and you must have that. It's not our preferred option, but sometimes the clubs say it's mandatory, you know. So.
Ну, в общем, на Obscene Extreme это происходит натурально, само собой, и это как бы организаторы это разрешают и даже поощряют, и нет смысла это попытаться как-то повторять искусственно. Да. Если это происходит, то Napalm Death всегда рады, когда это происходит само по себе, и не ставят между собой никаких барьеров. Ну, разве что...
Между собой публикой.
Да, между собой публикой. Разве
если
что, когда клуб настаивает.
Да, если только клуб может сказать, что нет.
Вопрос просто немного в том, что это выглядело очень красиво. Это как театр был. Есть вероятность...
Это должно происходить естественно.
Да, это естественно, в этом вся и суть.
Это не надо пытаться провоцировать.
Да, но когда-нибудь Napalm Death планируют сделать что-то именно на стыке такого, то есть как в музее, играть что-то очень...
Нет,
совместно.
Это должно быть просто само исходить в данный момент времени, это, скажем, hit of the moment.
Тогда последний вопрос.
Hit of the moment.
Барни, я слышал, что ты увлекаешься Советским Союзом. Слышал ли ты музыку тех времен и про советский андеграунд, например, гражданская оборона или что-то типа того?
So you're interested in Soviet Union?
Yeah, I'm kind of an amateur Soviet historian. I've got many.
Have you heard any Russian Soviet underground music like Гражданская оборона, for example?
Some Russian punk bands from back in the day. I have a couple of just like cassettes, you know, from back in the day, but actually nothing else really other than that. I always concentrated on the more general cultural artifacts, you know, like I have old things from the Soviet Union, you know. I even have like knives and forks, spoons, and you know, from a kind of family dinner set, and all this different stuff, you know, and books, you know, lots of different books by different authors about Soviet Union. I actually have my newest book. I have a Khrushchev, like a biography. Yeah, it's that thick, man. It's huge. From when he was born to the end of his life. You know.
Who's biography?
Khrushchev.
Окей.
Yeah. Khrushchev, yeah.
Ну, в общем,
И
у
это самое-
него есть несколько кассет, вот, а так он собирает в основном артефакты какие-то просто обычные. Вот у него есть биография Хрущева, там вилки, ложки советские, вот такая вот мелочь общекультурная.
Barney, are you agree with that maximum volume yields maximum results?
I suppose, yeah. Although sometimes minimum volume can also do very interesting things, you know. So you have to keep people guessing, you know.
Sound is a
So-
weapon in our times.
Sound is not only a weapon; it can be many different things, you know. There's many parts of the sound spectrum that are still not used, you know. And you're quite correct. Sound actually is a weapon, can be a very effective weapon, you know. So.
Последний.
Последний вопрос. So, mandatory question for local media. What do you think of Kirov? What have you seen?
Not much. I mean, I only arrived today on the sleeper train, so I've not seen very much. I don't know very much about Kirov actually, so apart from the small, just driving around, you know. So.
Видел немного из на автомобиле.
Barney, what was the most